Hey everyone, welcome back to K-Korner, the channel where we dive into the wild world of entitled people and their unbelievable stories. Hope you enjoy it, and without further ado, let's go. Little backstory. My aunt has always had a greedy streak ever since I was a kid. She is the type of person that will yell at a store employee because something that was advertised isn't in stock or not at that particular store or not on sale and has been banned from entering multiple stores. When my grandmother was on her deathbed, my aunt had talked her way into getting my grandmother to sign her on as an executor of the will, and ended up taking everything and anything that had the most value. Fast forward. My uncle was my best friend. I always looked up to him as a kid. He was a truck driver, so he would be gone for a long time. And I remember one summer he even took me with him on the road. But sadly, my uncle had cancer, and while he was in the hospital, my aunt had tried to get him to assign her as an executor of his will. But since he was quick to pick up on what happened when my grandmother passed away, he hired a professional estate lawyer that would take care of everything. If you can imagine, my aunt was not very happy and was quick to throw out a sob story of how offended she was that her brother couldn't entrust her with an important task. This went on for 2 weeks. Even on his last day in hospice, she still brought it up and was asked to leave by nurses. He passed away peacefully in 2011. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but I quickly found out why my aunt was so we were all asked to gather at my mom's home, where the estate lawyer came to tell us who was getting what. So finally my time came on the list, and I was surprised to have anything willed to me. What did my uncle will to me? Why, his rig and car, of course. My uncle's rig is a 2008 Lone Star International, which was fully loaded. My uncle's car is a 1966 Chevelle SS. My first thought was, what in the hell am I going to do with a big rig? My aunt's first thought, well, she didn't have a first thought. She just screamed and cussed at the lawyer, saying that I was too sick to have those things and didn't deserve them because I was his nephew and not his sister. The lawyer asked her to sit down and he would get to her. When my aunt sat down, she looked at me and said, "You're giving me the title to both of those," to which I laughed and said, "In your dreams, maybe." The lawyer kept going down the list, and because my uncle was a legend, he put my aunt at the bottom of the list and said to quote, "To my sister, I am leaving her my luckiest, most important dollar, because all present at this meeting will know she needs it most," and then was handed the dirtiest-looking Canadian $1 coin, which was sealed in a block of acrylic. Myself, my dad, and my other uncles nearly wet ourselves laughing. My aunt, however, didn't find it that funny, and instead went into another tirade on how this was unfair and saying she didn't have anything to hold on that was his. The day passed, and then the nightmare began. My aunt would call over and over and over asking about the truck, wanting to buy the car, if I was going to sell the truck, if I was going to sell the car, all to which I said no. Things got worse when my aunt started saying that she wanted her car and she has someone that wanted to buy her truck. At this point, I got extremely irritated and said, "It's not your car, it's my car, and my car is staying with me, and it's not our truck, it's my truck, and no one is buying it." A week later, I woke up and heard something, so I went to investigate, and there was a tow truck in the driveway. I quickly told the tow truck driver, who was a friend of my aunt, that if he so much as put a hand on that Chevelle, I would have him arrested for trespassing and grand theft, and then proceeded to call the police. Cop showed up, and I told the police officer my side of the story. Then he went to my aunt, and the conversation went like this. "Cop, ma'am, can you tell me, is this your car?" Aunt, "Yes, it is. He just won't give it to me." Cop, "Ma'am, do you have title of the vehicle?" Aunt, "No, I do not. He won't give that to me." Cop, "Well, ma'am, I looked at the registration and title of the vehicle, and he is listed as the owner of the vehicle. That vehicle is legally not yours, and having it towed could land you and your friend prison time for auto theft." Aunt, "Well, I think I am the one who should get the car because he can't even take care of himself." Cop, "Ma'am, it doesn't matter what you think. What matters is legal ownership, which you do not have." A week later, my aunt had attempted to take me to court for the car, which the case wasn't even put before a judge. My aunt refiled the claim again. It went to court, and once I provided a copy of the will, title, and registration, the judgment went in my favor, and my aunt was forced to pay my court costs after dismissing my aunt's claims with prejudice, meaning she can never file that lawsuit again. Then tragedy struck again. This time a great uncle passed away. I was on the will. Again. Can you guess what was left to me? A new car, my great uncle's 1967 Chevrolet Impala S, which he restored himself. My great aunt, his widow, was thrilled that I got it, but the mood was quickly soured when she realized that my entitled aunt, her niece, really was not thrilled that I got it. This time she stepped it up a notch and skipped the screaming and complaining and instead went scheming. 3 days after I took possession of the Impala, she rented not just one flatbed, but 2 flatbeds. She managed to get the Impala onto the flatbed and sped off, leaving her boyfriend behind, attempting to get the Chevelle on his flatbed as quickly as he could while I stood by on the phone with police. Police quickly caught up with my aunt and arrested her boyfriend in my driveway and soiled himself in the process. Her and her boyfriend both were hit for 2 counts of motor vehicle theft. Both were charged and found guilty and sentenced to 2 years and 2 days in jail. End points. I haven't spoken to or heard from my aunt since she got out of prison, and I have no desire to. Before she was released from jail, I filed a restraining order against her, and it has stood since then, but the last I heard, she is still screaming at store employees, complaining about money and asking about me and the vehicles. I still am the owner of all 3 vehicles, the Chevelle, the Impala, and the Lone Star International, and don't plan on selling any of them. I repair and build computers for a living, but more and more I've been getting into auto repair as a hobby. As I do live in Canada, I do not drive the Impala or Chevelle during winter months, but every year I always take my great aunt, who is now 96 years old, to A and W to get a burger, onion rings, and an ice-cold root beer in the Impala, which is something my great-uncle did for her since he got the Impala in 1970. A very good friend of my uncle's who now owns a business actually rents the Lone Star International from me. He promised me that he would not get a single scratch or spot of rust on any single part of it, and to this day that Lone Star looks factory new and has been all over the world. The guy that rents the truck even continued doing a little tradition my uncle did, which was to get a decal on the truck of the state, province, territory flag of the places the truck has visited. It currently has 31 state decals and 3 province decals on it. My great aunt isn't in great health, and she has told me that she put me in her will so that I will get her cars, which are 2 of my great uncle's first cars, originally left to her in the will, which are a 1958 Chevrolet Impala and 1957 Plymouth Belvedere Fury, which is my favorite car. I saw the movie Christine when I was 6 years old in 1996, ever since I loved the car, because she knows that I will take care of it and park it right beside the 67 Impala SE. I can already imagine the fallout that I'm going to get for that, so there may even be another post, though I really do hope there is not. Update EA, entitled Aunt GA, Great Aunt. So, I'm not really sure how this is actually done or if I'm doing this right. I looked everywhere, and information is kind of limited, so I'll just jump to it. Quite a few things have changed. So to start, GA is doing much better medically, and she's looking forward to her 97th birthday. I was actually inspired to make this update because I just recently took her for our usual A&W trip, which she loved. Her mind was also blown that now A&W sells frozen root beer, which had me laughing for about 15 minutes straight because she couldn't understand why someone would want a block of root beer. I had to order one and show her that it's like a Icy or a Slurpee from 7-Eleven. Turns out before he passed away, my great-uncle was working on restoring his 1958 Nash Metro, which I think is moderately terrifying because if you crash, that steering column is going to go right through you, and you're going to go through whatever car you crash into since that thing is a little tank. GA really doesn't want to hear about the Fury or the Nash anymore, so she gave me the title to the Fury. My cousin really wanted the Nash, which my aunt obliged him, and I'm not even disappointed because I think that thing is ugly as sin. Found out about it and threw a fit. Was on her way to my house, but without me even knowing this took place. I was surprised to find out that my mom had actually called police and police had called her EA to tell her that if she set foot on my property, then that would violate the protection order and she would be charged, and so she had best stop the car, turn around and head home. Well, she couldn't get the Plymouth Fury, but by golly, she was going to try to get that Nash Metro. My cousin had called me and told me that she actually went to his house under the pretense of a pleasant visit and said that the visit went nicely for maybe an hour, and then suddenly the golem switch was flipped and she started listing off reasons as to why he needs to give her the Nash, such as when she was little she would ride in the Nash. She deserved it. He wouldn't take care of it, also because he has a '66 Pontiac GTO that I've been trying to buy off of him for 7 years. It would be much safer at her place, despite the fact that he lives about 20 miles from where I live in the middle of nowhere. All of these did not faze my cousin, and instead he told her to get out of his house after citing the reason of how it was kinda his dad's car. He had to deal with her pestering him for around 7 months, and then he finally just blocked any form of contact with her. She hasn't tried anything since. GA then went on to sell the farm, which upset her even more because that's one more thing she can't have, and it is even in the will that my cousin and I retain the vehicles at all times, and now my cousin gets the house in town, which was changed from A to my cousin. And so the dust is settled now and things are all good. Now some pretty good things have come out of this. So number one is when I found out that my mom was the one that called the police on my aunt. That led me to talk to my mom for the first time in 5 or 6 years, and now we are on speaking terms. I also have a much better relationship with my cousin since we were never really that close to each other to begin with, and he was blown away at the fact that I have a full-on machine shop on my property, so on weekends we will be in the shop talking, and he has been helping me with my project. My project is, I found a Lincoln Continental MK3, and ever since I was a kid, it's been a dream to have the car from the movie. Well, the car. So we have started chopping the crap out of it and making everything by hand to get it looking perfect. The Impala, Chevelle, and Lone Star are all doing great. The Lone Star had a bit of a hiccup, and the entire transmission and engine needed to be replaced. But Lone Star actually said that the engine should have been replaced long ago, so that all got done and signed off on, along with a new hitch plate being installed on it. My uncle's friend still rents the Lone Star from me for his business, and he even got a custom decal put on the trailer for it of a chicken hawk. My uncle's nickname was Chicken Hawk, now has 42 state decals on it, up from 31, and 6 provincial decals up from 31, and 6 provincial decals up from 3. Me and my cousin both got invited to a car club because we were at a recent car show. A friend of ours had recent dealings with this car club. They gave him some of the money needed to restore a 1951 Studebaker Woody, and once the car was complete, they actually had taken him to court to get the car, which now sits in their showroom. So me and my cousin asked them when our friend is going to get his Studebaker back, and then I said that I don't associate with people that have zero moral fiber. We are now working towards getting him his car back since legally the people in the car club can't so much as sit in the car without our friend's permission. Since nothing was in writing, he has to pay the car club back but won't get the car back until he has paid the car club because his lawyer was an idiot. Before I forget, EA has actually had to come out of retirement, and now both her and her boyfriend are forced to go back to work since they ran out of money pretty quick. As it turns out, having multiple homes and going on vacation 2 and 3 times per year drains your bank account pretty darn quick. So yeah, that's about it. 5 a.m., so it's time to get to work. Hope everyone out there has a good day, evening, and thank you for your time. So I really never thought I would be touching this topic again, but surprise, I'm back. So let's just jump right into it. This time we only have 2 characters, which will be entitled Aunt, AI, and Uncle. Here we go. So for those who have seen the last post, I've recently gotten onto speaking terms with some more members of my mother's side of the family, one of which being my uncle. I do need to put a little backstory in here on my uncle before we begin. So my uncle was paying it for a house she owned. They have a written agreement, which is almost like a rent-to-own agreement. So my uncle has been paying an inflated sum of money for 3 years, in total of which when that sum hit $64,000, that was it. The house was then given to my uncle. I will say it again. This is in writing. Now, a few years ago, my uncle got into a car accident, which was by no means his fault. He was actually hit by a bus driver who was intoxicated at the time, and because of that, he got a very large settlement. Because of that accident, my uncle broke both of his legs, so he gave me his bank card, and she was using that to do things such as pay his bills and get groceries for him. Now, here's where the problems begin. EA and my uncle got into an argument. She kicked him out of the house and refuses to refund him the money he gave her. I also looked at the numbers for the settlement my uncle got. Out of $977,000 by my count, only 125-ish, 0 was actually spent on him. So by my count, my aunt has stolen a little over $1 million from my uncle, adding on the money given for the house, which was never returned. I expected this, but I never in 1 million effing lifetimes expected this amount. Like, this isn't slap on the wrist kind of money. This is big trouble, big bad kind of money. I am livid. I haven't told my uncle yet because, to be honest, I don't know how the F to tell him. How the F do you tell your uncle? Yeah, your sister stole $1 million from you. Also factor into that my uncle is a recovering alcoholic. He still drinks here and there, but he doesn't get blackout drunk like he used to. But he's working for a friend of mine who I told very directly, if he smell alcohol on him, send him home without pay, so I really don't want to tell him and have him go on a downward spiral. I honestly have no idea what to do. I know that I have to tell my uncle this whether or not he chooses to pursue it. He won't have a choice because this isn't right. I will make him pursue it, and I will give him my lawyer and pay for it. Do I even go to a lawyer for this? So, anyways, I just had to put this out there. It is kind of vague. For that, I apologize, but for the time being, this is all the information I have. So this is a pretty big update. Buckle up. I really did not want to tell my uncle on the weekend of Thanksgiving, because Canada, so I opted to wait till Monday since it was a long weekend. I got my lawyer at my place, I got my uncle at my place, sat my uncle down, and I put what I found in front of him. He asked what it all meant, and so I had to tell him that the total sum of $977,000 plus is missing, and is what Ia stole from him. He broke down, couldn't comprehend why she did it. Aside from that, I would say that he handled it fairly well, and even he didn't know what to do, so my lawyer explained it. In Canada, this goes down as financial abuse, and there is good reason for that. Since my uncle gave Ia his bank card and PIN number in good faith, expecting that she would use it only for the purpose of paying his bills and getting him groceries, the fact that she withdrew money without him knowing is what brought that to light. Now, financial abuse in Canada is a federal crime. The fact that the money she took was a settlement, that makes it even worse. This is where it gets complicated. Because of the amount of money, this isn't a civil matter. My uncle agreed to take action, and so what we had to do is get not only the provincial government involved, but also the federal government involved. One thing about agencies, sometimes they work good together, sometimes not. We met up with representatives on Wednesday, 11th Oct. They explained how things would be done, what to expect, etc. Yesterday, 12th Oct. Ia and her boyfriend were arrested and charged. Both refused to speak without the presence of an attorney, which is their right. They tried to call my uncle, but wasn't allowed to, so she called my mom and tried to tell my mom that it was all bullcrap. I was lying. My uncle was lying. She took care of my uncle. He never paid for the house. She never took anything. Went into detail as to how much of a burden I was on the family, etc. So they already had a warrant to search A's house. They did find some of the money. The advisor told us that usually when people steal a large sum of money, they do something called squirreling, where they will stash the money away in a mattress, under floorboards, in walls, doctor panels, etc. In this case, they found upwards of $87,000 stashed in airplane carry-on bags so far. At this time, keep in mind that they are still searching, but in order to do certain things, such as cut holes in floors and walls. They do need different warrants for that. All of the EA's bank accounts have been frozen. They have people looking into every single transfer and transaction she ever made. They also flagged my cousin's bank accounts and her grandchildren's accounts, pretty much anyone that got money from her. Their accounting for the last 5 years is going to be gone through with a fine-tooth comb and a microscope. The way my lawyer explained EA's situation is this. The more money they get back, the better it will be for her. But both her and her boyfriend are still in jail saying they didn't take crap so maximum. They are looking at 7 years in prison. Minimum 3 years in prison plus. They will have to pay reparations not only to my uncle, but also the government, because the federal government most definitely will be charging her with some sort of fraud tax evasion. Which I think is a effing joke, because when I was 17, I was in prison, turned 18 in prison, and got 2 years plus 287 days of probation or house arrest. For multiple assault charges, but that's just my opinion. 7 years for stealing almost $1 million is screw all. I did make a statement detailing how this whole situation came about and how I found what I found, so that will be used in court. But at this point, this is where my involvement ends. My uncle is doing okay. He is doing a few home improvement projects, making shelves, etc. So I told him that if he wanted to use my shop, he could, and he has taken me up on that offer, which is good because it keeps his mind off of the whole situation. And I have also noticed that he also doesn't drink as long as he is busy. I will try to keep this updated as best I can, but at this point really is just a waiting game. The A side of the family is, of course, defending her, so once again I have become public enemy number 1, but my mom, uncles, and especially my great aunt are not in her corner this time around. So for the end of this, I just wanted to go through a little bit of a timeline just for a bit of a recap, and it will also fill in some holes. So 2018 was when my uncle had his accident. From 2018 to 2020 is when AA had access to his banking information. 2020 is when EA had also kicked my uncle out of the house he was renting from her in a written rent-to-own agreement. At the same time, EA had also sold her house in the small town I grew up in, which was 3x larger than, and in a much better area than the house she was renting to my uncle is. After that took place, they didn't speak to each other for almost 2 years. Fast forward to 2023. My uncle wanted me to go over his funds just to get a head start and see if he could get any more money on his 2023 tax return, which is when I found out that around $825,000 was missing out of the settlement. He gotten around $100,000 was accounted for, which now leads us here. My final thoughts on the situation. I honestly do think that EA did plan this from start to finish, from selling her house to kicking my uncle out, simply because she just wanted to take more, and that was the only way she saw where she could take more, and that left my uncle damn near homeless. Do I wish it happened this way? No, I don't, but I also think at the same time this needed to happen. Hopefully now EA will actually begin to understand what kind of harm materialism brings you all, because of the fabricated perception of status it brings some people. Enjoying the stories yet? If you do, please subscribe, like, and comment. So, this one might be short or long, I'm not very sure. Either way, buckle up because you are in for one heck of a ride. So, I want to start off by saying that every single charge against EA has been dropped, and that was because of both my mother and my uncle asking that of the courts. My uncle has recovered over half of the money that was stolen as AA was doing what is known as squirreling, which is when people take money in large cash withdrawals and then hide it somewhere in the house. In EA's case, it was in airplane luggage bags. Everyone spoke of karma, and well, let's just say I got a little more than she bargained for when it comes to karma. So as it stands right now, court proceedings have concluded. There are things I can and cannot say, but I did get the okay from my uncle and my mom to disclose a few things. AA was diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer. Further testing was done, and just last week that diagnosis was upgraded to stage 4 lung cancer, adenocarcinoma. She has been given 7 months to live without treatment, but she has opted for treatment. If the treatment works and the cancer goes into remission, then she will be fine so long as the cancer doesn't come back, but after hearing the fact that it's in her lymphatic system and all through her lungs, I am by no means optimistic. I have seen way too many friends and family pass away from cancer that wasn't even in its advanced stages, not to mention the treatment itself is the dangerous part. For the most part, everything between my mom, uncle, and aunt has been forgiven. Myself, I can't exactly forgive 24 years of bad treatment, so I have just been staying away. With the cancer diagnosis, all of the formal charges were dropped, but EA is under some very serious probation and restrictions. What's going to happen from here? So from here, whatever happens, honestly, is none of my concern, and I'm going to stay out of it. I recently reconnected with a childhood friend. Long story short is we went to school together, but she was bullied bad. Hell, we were both bullied badly. I was out of school on a suspension for fighting, and because I wasn't there, she got hurt badly, so her parents pulled her out of school, then moved back to Japan. We're connected 5 or so months ago. And in 4 months, I've probably gone out to Japan to visit her 4 times. She's been here 3 times and even spent Christmas with me. We are dating, and it's gotten to the point where I don't want to travel anymore cause. Damn, it's expensive. In May, I will be leaving Canada and moving to living in Japan. It will be a fresh start for me, and I'm doing it based on multiple reasons. One being the way homes in my business are taxed in Canada. It's pretty bad that my dad is almost 70 years old, has worked since he was 17 and can't even retire. I myself have a machine shop, and the taxes are even starting to get to me in the long run, whereas in Japan I have massive contract opportunities. I will have to get recertified, but that won't be much of a problem at all. My girlfriend's dad said that I will easily be made a master machinist in under 3 months. The second being the political state in Canada. I really hope I don't need to explain that. Third reason is that I really have no good memories here to speak of at all. I'm already fluent in Japanese, so it's really a no-brainer since I already went to Japan once a year before reconnecting with my girlfriend to visit a friend. One thing my grandfather always said to me when I was a kid was that his biggest regret was coming to Canada in 1956, and that if I ever got the chance, leave. So that is exactly what I am doing. I have almost all of my shop equipment loaded up. The next thing will be vehicles, then the last thing will be pets and me. It does kind of suck since I built my house and my machine shop with my own 2 hands under the pretense of, I'm going to live here until the day I die, so that's the only part I'm a little touchy about. To go from living in a basement, working out of an 18-foot garage with nothing but a grinder, drill press, and a lathe to then down the line building, what I call my dream house, and a 7,000 square foot machine shop loaded to the brim with machines and tooling makes it a little hard. My relationship with my mom is much better. She met my girlfriend over Christmas, which she was ecstatic about since it's actually the first one I've ever had. And my mom remembered her from when we were in school together because I would protect her from bullies, and more often than not, I would get in trouble for doing so. I do plan on maintaining the relationship with my mother. My dad met my girlfriend over Christmas, and his mind was blown, and so was mine, because he recognized her from when we were kids, and then my dad said, "This explains why you have been much happier lately," which is true. I don't feel like I'm in a revolving door anymore. First chance I get, I plan on flying my dad out to Japan. He hasn't had a vacation in probably 20 years, so I think he should have one. I will likely need to chase him out of my machine shop to stop him from working when he is there, but it will still be fun. The thought of clearing things up with the A has crossed my mind, but my girlfriend has said not to try. Her parents have said not to try. Friends have said not to try, and family has said not to try. So that's what I'm going to do, since I'm guessing she has not the need or the want to try to smooth things over, which is 100% fine with me. For those wondering about my great aunt, don't worry. I plan on flying her out to Japan the first chance I get because where I bought property, Satoyama, Japan, I am 100% positive that she will love it there. It's quiet, it's clean, great people live there, and I absolutely love the area. Of course, I will take my great aunt out for food in the Impala, but I'm not very sure if it will be a burger joint, maybe a bowl of ramen at a yatai. Thank you to those who have stuck around for updates for over a year. It's been one hell of a ride. Thank you for taking the time to read, and have a great day evening. So, there I was, all dolled up in my pristine white wedding dress, heart pounding like it was trying to escape my chest. It was the big day, the day I was going to tie the knot with my wonderful partner, Max. The sun was shining, birds were singing, and everything seemed perfect. Little did I know that I was about to meet an entitled Karen who would make this day even more memorable, and not in a good way. You see, Max and I had decided to have a child-free wedding. We both love kids, but we wanted this day to be about us, about our love, without any distractions. We made it clear on the invitations, on our wedding website, and even through word of mouth, no kids allowed. It's not that we didn't like children. We just wanted everyone to enjoy the day, including parents, without having to chase after their little ones. The ceremony went off without a hitch. We exchanged our vows, sealed it with a kiss, and walked down the aisle as the newlyweds. Cheers and applause filled the air, and we felt on top of the world. As we were heading to the reception, my cousin Jane, who had taken on the role of our unofficial wedding bouncer, came running up to us, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Hey, you won't believe what just happened," she said, panting. "What's up?" Max asked. Jane explained that she had just intercepted a family trying to bring their 2 kids into the reception. She told them about our no kids policy, and they didn't seem too happy, but turned around and headed back to their car. Crisis averted, or so we thought. We were mingling with our guests, sipping champagne and trying to get around to everyone when I spotted her, the infamous Karen. She was wearing a bright red dress that screamed, "Look at me!" Her hair was perfectly coiffed, and she had that, "Can I speak to your manager?" look in her eyes. She was with her husband and 2 kids who were, I'd say, around 7 and 9 years old. "Hey, you guys," Karen said, waving like we were old pals. Max and I exchanged a confused look. "Hello," Max replied cautiously. "I can't believe you guys are getting married. So exciting," Karen gushed. Max and I exchanged another look. We didn't recognize her at all. "Thanks," I said, trying to be polite. Karen leaned in closer, lowering her voice. "Listen, I know you said no kids and all, but my little angels are so well behaved. They won't cause any trouble, promise." Max and I exchanged yet another look, this one more incredulous. It's not like our no kids policy had any fine print that said, well, behaved children are an exception. Still, we didn't want to cause a scene. So Max said, "I'm sorry, but we're trying to stick to our no kids rule." Karen's face turned a shade of red that almost matched her dress. She glanced at her husband and then back at us. "You know what, Max and my name? I thought you guys were better than this." "We're family, for crying out loud. And you're going to deny our little ones a chance to see their cousin get married?" I was stunned. "Look, Karen, it's not personal. We just wanted a kid, free wedding to keep things simple. We made this clear to everyone." Karen wasn't having it. "Well, I didn't think you were serious. I mean, who has a child? Free wedding anyway. That's just ridiculous." Max tried to reason with her. It's not ridiculous if it's what we want, and it's not fair to the other guests who respected our wishes. At this point, Karen's husband was awkwardly shuffling his feet, clearly not wanting to get in the middle of this. The kids were oblivious, playing with some confetti on the ground. "You're making a big mistake," Karen spat, her face still contorted in anger. Then, in an act that shocked everyone around, including us, she shoved me. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over my wedding dress. The gasps from our guests were audible. My new husband, Max, and I exchanged looks of disbelief, our magical day taking an unexpected turn. And as she was leaving the dance floor with rage, she turned her back quickly, and she stepped on her dress and fell on a table. Her dress was a mess of dinner leftovers and wine. She came at me speeding, telling me it's my fault. "Karen, that's enough," her husband finally spoke up, looking embarrassed by her behavior. He apologized to us and led her away, but not without a few parting words about how we were being unreasonable. The rest of the day was a bit of a blur. We had a wonderful time with our friends and family, who were incredibly supportive and understanding of what had just happened. It turned out to be a story that we'd laugh about later, our very own wedding day drama, but at that moment, it felt like the most surreal and ridiculous thing that could happen. In the end, our wedding was still perfect, even with the unexpected drama. We learned a valuable lesson about the importance of sticking to your principles, even on your big day, and the lengths some people will go to get their way. And yes, we've had our fair share of Karen jokes ever since. A bit of context first. I'm a manager of a before and after school childcare program in my local public school district. The company that I work for is privately owned and sort of rents out the space in the schools. I've just passed my 7th year working here, started when I was 15, and I've always really liked it, mainly because the school that I've been working at is the school that I went to as a kid, and it's within close walking distance. Working at that specific school is one of the main reasons that I worked here for so long. When I became the manager, it was literally something that was just forced upon me, because there was no one else to fill that role. I've always been really good at saving, so I've never asked for a raise before. I've spent my own money buying toys and supplies for the site that the higher-ups either didn't want to get or didn't know what to get. I've been short on support staff for my site for the 2nd straight year, as they do not want to pay a competing starting wage with other nearby businesses. But whatever. Working with children, K-5, takes a lot out of you, but you do it for them. I've always really liked my job, but the past couple of days are making me change my mind. So there I was, opening understaffed, with 2 staff out on vacation, 1 not showing, and 2 others coming nearly 30 minutes after school gets out because they're both high schoolers and have to commute, drop off siblings, and whatever. Shortly after school gets out, I usually take the kids to the playground. It's one of the largest playgrounds in the district, despite being one of the smallest schools. So I'm practically solo monitoring 45 kids, because 1 staff has to stand at the entrance to the playground, and then a hill, and the equipment get in the way. Then I hear a lot of yelling that one of the 1st grade girls is crying. When I get over there, the 1st grader is under some stairs crying, and I start my questioning. The 1st grader in question has some mobility disability, required a walker to get around, and had multiple surgeries over the summer to help. Turns out that a new kid in the program this year, a 3rd grade boy, had pushed her down, kept pushing her down, pinned her to the ground, and grabbed her neck. When I asked the 3rd grader why he did this, he said, "I don't know." When I asked if there was a reason why he did this, he said no. In response, I had him apologize to the 1st grader and walk 3 laps around the blacktop. And of course, I wrote up a behavior report for him to give to his parents. All pretty normal, until I get a text from my boss asking if I could come into the company office to talk. Apparently, the mom of the 3rd grader had called my boss and the principal of the school and had a multi-hour conversation about how I was being biased and unfair to her kid. She demanded that I be removed from the site, and my boss, for some reason, immediately caved and said that I can pick the school that I want to commanage. So I'm essentially being demoted, told I have to spend a lot more on commuting, be moved with no advance warning, and cause the site that I've spent so much effort on to have no manager, for the horrible crime of doing my job. I get kind of anxious when I fly, and for that reason, like to have an aisle seat, and will always get one on my own through the seat map when I book. I always fly basically cross-country for reference, minimum 4-hour flights. Anyways, I'm in my aisle seat and the middle seat is still open with a few passengers still boarding the plane. I see a typical airport creature-looking dude who's like 65 and some woman also around his age, walking together, and he motions that he's in the middle seat. I get up, and before I can sit down, he goes, "Do you think you'd be willing to trade seats with my wife so she could sit next to me?" Now I've grown up traveling with my family, and my dad travels for work, so he always stressed the unspoken rules of airline travel and importance of following them, i.e., always have your shoes and belt off at TSA, that sort of thing. So the whole "can I pretty please switch seats because I'm a moron or cheap and didn't want to book them together" pisses me off, and as I mentioned, I already don't like travel. So I shut him down immediately when the words come out of his mouth. I'm just like I'm sitting in the seat I was assigned. He looks all sad and spends the first 20 minutes of the plane ride talking to his wife behind me while I have headphones in. Mind you, I never caught what seat his wife was in, but I assume she had the aisle behind me because why the hell else would he ask? After a while, I have an epiphany where I'm like, you know what? I'll be the extra nice guy today and take my headphones out and get a guy's attention. I ask him, "Is your wife also in the aisle seat?" And he starts aggressively smiling like a kid who got his hand caught in the cookie jar and goes, "No, she's in the middle seat." I shook my head in disgust and ignored him the rest of the flight. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more captivating stories. Share your own experiences, opinions in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay tuned for more epic tales.